you wanna be a part of it? Do yoik, do yoik. Get it in here, Stephen.
Why not? Why not?
I'm worried here that I've not switched off this. I had switched it off.
Hello and welcome on into this Wednesday's edition of Movie News here at MBE. We'd just like to thank you once again for joining us here on our YouTube channel and of course our Twitch stream. I'm one of your co-hosts, Stephen John McLaughlin. Our other co-host is looking a little uncomfortably wrapped up there. It's John C. Walsh. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing splendid and tremendous, Stephen. What's
Yeah.
that from? Splendid and tremendous?
It's Alan Partridge.
Yes,
Yeah.
Alan Partridge,
Yep.
yes. Splendid and tremendous. How
Watched
you
the
doing?
show last night, John, and it took me down a rabbit hole of Jim Carrey's interviews over the last 20 years and thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm kind of jealous I missed the chat because you did mention on the show last night
Stephen's
that he
sleeping
is-
by the time that I go live.
Well, I was moderating, to be fair.
Oh, you
on
were
the
in?
live
That's
chat.
right,
Yeah,
so
I
you
was,
were.
I was handling those.
You're sleeping mentally by the
Yeah.
time I go
Well,
live.
I don't think I could do what I'm doing just now. Last night, but yeah, Jim Carrey, John. I hope he's not retiring. I hope
Stephen's
he's not.
literally up at that time ending shows.
Yeah.
So I'm talking crap.
Yeah, there you go. I'm saying good night, guys. But anyway, the other topic you talked about as well, John, was
The Multiverse of Madness.
it wasn't the Multiverse of Madness. I was I was really what to talk about.
Fantastic Beasts.
No, it certainly was not. Certainly was not. Do you ever notice when I'm on
Bill
the show?
Skarsgård, the Crow.
It was the Crow, John. It
Yes.
was the Crow. You know, and I know that you covered it very well last night. I just want to put it out there. I don't want it remade. I don't think there's any
Vader
need for
as
it.
well.
I don't think there's any need for it. Don't think there's any need.
You know, you would, but Stephen, if it has to happen, if they're dead set and spending $50 million on a Crow reboot, would you be happy with Bill Skarsgård? Do you think he's the best guy on planet Earth walking just now the best actor
Possibly.
to portray
I
the
think
character.
possibly. I think he's certainly got the stature and the physique and the acting stature as well to pull it off. And not that he needs that. I don't think, no offence to Brandon Lee, he wasn't the greatest actor in the world, but he had a great screen presence about him.
Was he a big man?
I think he was, John. I think he was.
Bigger than his father.
I think he was maybe 6 foot. I'm not sure. But
Yeah,
he
but the
was
same as
a tremendous physique as well, just like his father.
Boy.
And he could handle himself. He was a martial artist. That's the other thing. I don't think you have to be a martial artist to play, obviously, Eric Draven or anything like that. But I think it does add to the style, obviously, of the Vengeance character, and I think whatever they do, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to be that interested, to be honest with you.
No,
I still love the 1994 film, 93, can't remember when it was out.
I said 91, 92. I tried to guesstimate when that movie was
Well,
out.
it was his last film and he passed away in 94, wasn't it? So
Well, I admitted I hadn't seen the original Stephen, so much like Stephen King's Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
I missed the original version of that. That was all for the reboot. Get in and watching a new take on the story. Then if I felt that I could go, maybe want to go back and watch the original, I've got that comparison there. So it's something I enjoy doing. And also we've had umpteen Murder on the Orient Expresses, fucking umpteen A Star Is Born movies. So you've always got that option.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if it's shit, you've always got the original.
Before we carry on with the show, John, just to remind everyone, we will be back on tomorrow with our pre-recorded watch-along reaction of All of Us Are Dead episode 11, and you can find us watching along on Friday to episode 12, the finale. We will not announce what we're doing after that. We'll put that in the community once the show is done and dusted, maybe over the weekend, and we will start pre-recording those shows as well.
Give a little hint.
We know what we're doing, yeah.
It's a little house in the prairie.
Yeah. That would be something. The Waltons.
The Waltons. Fuck it, it'd be haunting my dreams at night.
Good night, John boy. Anyway, I'll say that at the end of the show. But Tobey Maguire, John, Spider-Man 4 update shared by Sam Raimi, the man who's doing what you were talking about last night, the Multiverse of Madness.
The Multiverse of Madness.
And,
should we worry? No, we shouldn't.
I don't think so. John, coming in from Screen Rant, in an interview with Fandango to promote his MCU entry.
Hopefully you're on the screen, yeah.
Doctor Strange
Wondrous.
in the Multiverse of Madness. Raimi was asked about making another Spider-Man movie, naturally, with Maguire and Kirsten Dunst. Though he admits that it isn't on the table right now, Raimi seemed open to it, and this is what he said. He said, I've come to realise after making Doctor Strange that anything is possible, really anything in the Marvel Universe, any team-ups. I love Tobey, I love Kirsten Dunst. I think all the things are possible. I don't really have a story or a plan. I don't know if Marvel would be interested in that right now. I don't know what their thoughts are about it. I haven't really pursued that, but it sounds beautiful. Even if it wasn't a Spider-Man movie, I'd love to work with Tobey again in a different role. That's a big statement, John.
Yeah.
The respect he's got for the actor, you know. Do you know something? I don't think... I may be wrong, but I don't know if Kirsten Dunst would be that interested in going back that way, John. I think she's really moved on with her career. I'm not saying Tobey Maguire hasn't, but he's obviously already
Toby's a basketball
reprised.
fan, isn't he?
He's already reprised the role anyway, so we know that he'd be up for it. Sam Raimi, though, he's not writing it out. He's not writing it off, sorry. So there is that possibility and there is that hope, isn't there?
Well, Stephen, when you've got a multiverse concept, which I now firmly believe has been established cinematically in Multiverse of Madness, but not ended. They're not going to shut the door on it in this movie. I think with 2 hours and 6 minutes, there's not enough time to establish the mechanics of the multiverse in this universe. Bring in the likes of Loki, Sylvie, evil Doctor Strange variants. You've got fucking Wong. You've got the other guy who I always forget, and even now I've not searched his name up, who turned bad rogue, if you'd like, the first Doctor Strange. You've got Scarlet Witch in there. You've got a lot of characters. You've got this concept. You have to set it up. I don't think 2 hours and 6 minutes is enough time to do all of that and close the door on the multiverse as a concept in the MCU. So I think it's now going to be the beginning of a multiverse, and we're going to have multiple movies traversing this multiverse saga before they finally shut the door. Maybe Phase 5, fuck knows when they're going to do it. Stephen, I firmly believe Kang the Conqueror will be this couple of sagas worth of movies version of Thanos.
Yeah.
I think he's
so.
going to be Thanos.
And I think the multiverse will have a large role to play in that, John, with that character as well, with the variants. How cool would it be, though, at the end of Doctor Strange, the end credit scene, or the one at the very end, we did get Tobey Maguire.
It'd be brilliant.
What a meltdown the cinema would be, wouldn't it?
Stephen, look, I want to see the two back. I want to see Andrew Garfield getting an amazing Spider-Man 3.
I think he's more likely to be in the Sony-verse though, John. The
Yeah.
Sony Spider-Man verse or whatever they call it these days.
I mean, that's the beauty. You've set up multiverse concepts.
Yeah.
You've set up Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy's version appearing in this sort of variant of Eddie Brock anyway, the one we love in the MCU. So we know that they can traverse. So the fact that Garfield's Peter Parker has appeared in the MCU isn't closing the door on him going over to the Sonyverse and mingling with Morbius and mingling with Venom and Lord knows what else they're going to do over there. We could certainly do that. He could certainly pop over and be a live action Peter Parker for Sony. Tobey can be a sort of one and done variant story in the MCU, close the chapter on him, and we can have Miles Morales continuing to web sling in the Spider-Verse movies. And look, I think we've seen, I don't know who it was that came out, but someone came out, I actually read the article, I was tempted to put it in, but I spoke about this character a lot recently, and I thought, nope, I won't bother. But someone says I think it's inevitable that we get Miles Morales jumping over to live action, probably even in the MCU, within the next 5 to 10 years. They see it happening. So, look man, you've already got multiple Batman doing their thing over at DC, Warner Brothers. I think the audience are smart enough to differentiate between the main universe's Peter Parker, Tom Holland, and the other ones.
You notice that in the terminology when they're referring to the three Spider-Mans. I don't like saying that, doesn't sit well. But they do. They refer to, obviously, Tobey's as Spider-Man. They refer to Andrew Garfield's as Amazing Spider-Man. And they refer to Tom's as MCU Spider-Man. So, John, on the subject of Tom Holland, how much of a break do you think the guy's going to take before he reprises the role for another trilogy? I know that's nothing confirmed, but that's what it's setting up to be. We're going to actually see Spider-Man when
not
Tom
Spider
returns.
Boy.
But what do you think the gap's going to be? Do you think you're talking about Miles Morales in the next 2-3 years? So
I mean,
going to
5,
be
10.
a bit of a gap before we see Tom back in the...
I don't think it'll be a huge gap, Stephen, but I think Kevin Feige has come out and says that there won't be any more Avengers movies, at least not for a long time.
Yeah.
It probably will be more focused on smaller ensemble releases, the Marvels. You get to see Monica Rambeau, I think it's Quantum or Phaser, I can't remember her superhero name. Miss Marvel, obviously the Carol Danvers doing their thing in that movie, and this you've got the likes of Scarlet Witch, Dr. Stephen Strange in there. I always like to give him his full name, I don't know why, but I do. Obviously in 4 you're getting the Guardians of the Galaxy popping in. James Gunn already admitting there's going to be big cameos that true fans of the Guardians will love in that movie. I think that's where they'll go for the next saga or the next phase or two. I don't want to say saga because that's like fucking 10 years of storytelling. But I think for the next phase 4, phase 5, it'll probably be more focused on that. Don't know if we'll get a huge ensemble release. I think they'll take a break from that, give people some form of separation from Avengers Endgame, because that was a huge release in terms of box office. Just not even that, but to give Avatar a chance to reign supreme at the box office for an extended period, because when they do bring out another sort of Avengers movie, it's inevitable they'll then put Endgame back into the theatres, special release to get it number 1, so they can promote it as being the successor to the number 1 box office movie. So they'll want to let Avatar have its day in the sun. That's going to be the next 3-4 years. So I think that's the gap you're looking at. And then Spider-Man, I don't think he'll step away too long, because ultimately, although he is young, he's not that fucking young. He's 26 this year, I think, Tom. So if you're talking 3, 4, 5 years, he's now in his 30s at that point. So you want to strike while the iron's hot. He's still youthful, still got that energy, the desire to play the character. I'd say maybe a year or 2 and then he'll be back.
I mean, we talk about obviously Tom Holland, and I think our percentages would be very high in terms of him reprising the role. Zendaya, on the other hand, I think her stature's only going to get bigger as well, and it might be even harder to get her to come back. I don't know. Just
depends what to do with the character, Stephen. I don't think she'll keep coming back as a sort of on-off romantic flame for Peter Parker. There has to be something compelling for her to get her teeth into. She's much more than a sort of side interest love character. She's acting in the likes of John David Washington, if that's how you say it. I think that is his name. I always mix it up.
I think you got it right.
John David Washington. She's acting in Denis Villeneuve movies, getting a leading role pretty much in June 2. So they need to give her something compelling. For the other guy, I always fucking forget his name. Ned something.
Yeah.
Is that what the actual character's name? The character's name. I always forget the actor's name. I don't know why. Cool guy. But there's rumours that he could be playing Hobgoblin he may turn villainous at some point. I wouldn't want to see that, Stephen.
No.
He's a very morally anchored character. He's a good guy. He's always got Peter's back. I think if you stab him in the back and it goes villainous, can he pull that off, the actor? With the character, it feel
perhaps
organic?
those closing scenes of No Way Home were confirming, you know, that Peter's moved on. He has to move on and leave those characters behind. Let them have that happy ending, you know, that they go and live their lives.
Yeah.
They might not want to soil that, you know. Who knows?
It's possible, Stephen. He stepped into his own he's on his own 2 feet. He's became a man at the end. He's a character that we probably wanted from the get-go. Yeah. But they decided to go a different direction, not give us an origin story, set up a sort of youthful version, mature him, give us that sucker punch moment in the 3rd movie. Maybe they will just go off and it'll be a traditional Spider-Man. He's on his lonesome, he's doing his thing. Vigilanteism, if you like. I don't know. Either way, I'll be happy. If they bring back Zendaya, they bring back the other guy.
Yeah, Ned. Yeah.
You find that character, that guy's name. He's got a very memorable name as well. That's the crazy thing about it.
I know.
Then so be it. But man, in terms of Tobey Maguire, I'd love to see Tobey back. I'd love to see a Spider-Man 4. It wasn't a fitting ending for that guy to go out with Spider-Man 3. That bloated mess of a movie. When I put some dirt in your eye, we'll get some dirt in Sam Raimi's eye and get him told to get that movie made, Toby, because he's the only guy.
Jr. You gonna cry?
He's the only guy that could make it, Stephen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fundamentally believe there's no other director could work with Toby. And look, he's got that camaraderie, he's got that sort of legacy with him, and he's admitted there he wouldn't be adverse to it. But it really comes down to Kevin Feige, Marvel Creative, where they're taking this universe. Are they going to bring in variants? Are we going to get a Peggy Carter becoming Captain Britain and dedicating entire movies to it? I personally have my doubts about that. Yeah. But this is different. It's fucking Spider-Man.
Well, exactly, John. I think Feige's not daft. He knows what the fans want and what they need. And I think I firmly do believe that they want more Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I think they want more Andrew Garfield Spider-Man as well as Tom Holland. One thing that fans don't need, and this is what we're moving on to next, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure there'll be a few people around the globe that will agree with this opinion, is the Simpsons Movie 2. Now, Lisa actor really believes sequel will happen. Actually, when I read that earlier on, I missed out the word actor and I thought, Lisa? You've actually interviewed Lisa Simpson.
Yeah, that'd have been great, wouldn't it?
In a recent interview, The Simpsons...
What do you think, Lisa? Yeah. Should it happen? Yes, of course.
The Simpsons voice actor, Yeardley Smith, affirmed her belief that a sequel to 2007's The Simpsons movie will happen. That's terrible. Movie, okay. Come on, get your shit together. In a recent interview with Daniel Merrifield of the Movie Dweeb YouTube channel, Smith discussed her time on The Simpsons. Merrifield asked about the possibility of a sequel movie happening, joking that it could provide the video with some clickbait tittling. Some clickbait tittling. You can write them go that way. You can't write them go that way. Anyway, Smith affirmed that she believed a Simpsons movie sequel will happen. Oh, right, okay. Before discussing the possible troubles the production may face, emphasising the strain it could put on the writers and animators in the current state of Hollywood. After discussing the drawbacks, Smith once more affirmed her belief before sharing her pitch that it should be a Christmas movie.
A Christmas movie, man. Xmas.
I am not going to do this in the voice of Lisa Simpson because I can't do it, but I'm imagining it in my head.
I do think that there will be another. I can't do it either.
That was Ralph.
Yep.
I do. Do you know something? Before I read this, John, I always love that bit at the start of the Simpsons movie, the Fox fanfare, but it's Ralph doing it. They can't do that now.
No,
Fox does not exist, but I do. This is the other thing we can get into as well. A Disney-owned Simpsons film, John. I'll get your thoughts on that in a moment.
It's just 21st, isn't it? Pictures now.
Yeah, I do think that there will be another movie, or so there's your clickbait. I have no idea when. I will say one of the issues is such a labour-intensive show behind the scenes, certainly not for the actors, but for the writers and animators, that to siphon off any group of actors to basically engage in another full-time job to write and animate a full-length film is untenable at the moment, but that's just today. I do really believe that there will be a number 2, and my pitch is that it should be a Christmas movie so that it has an annual relevance for the rest of time. A bit like Charlie Brown, yeah.
I can understand what she's saying about the Christmas movie aspect, Stephen, because we've seen that with multiple products, not just movies but TV shows. They always have that Christmas special, and there's always that degree of getting together with the family Christmas and maybe watching it, it's something you can all share in if you enjoy it. That is, because I mean, there's guys like Lemmy done Christmas specials, and Lemmy's the living embodiment of Marmite. I think most people love him, but there is a strange element of society who fucking hate him, and I know them. But Stephen, if you were going to dabble with a Simpsons movie number 2, Christmas movie would probably be the best way to do it. But I don't know if you do it now or you do it at the eventual end of its run as a TV show, because Christmas specials, I don't know, they always seem to come at the end, don't they? I think of it, Extras had a special, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it was the whole Big Brother thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, saying that, John, like
Big Brother.
If we're talking about television series, Only Fools and Horses went from being a television series to just doing Christmas sort of specials. So, and that kind of worked with that format. In terms of
because they were rich, weren't they? Then they fucking blew
I mean, I think it went. There was only, I think, about 5 or 6 seasons of Only Fools and Horses, which is extraordinary when you think about the length of time that ran for. But after they did that, I think they stopped doing it in sort of late 80s, early 90s, and then after that they only did Christmas specials, and everyone looked for it. It became a tradition, John, so I actually get what she's saying here.
But Stephen, listen, that's getting back to the whole debate over how America does TV shows and how Britain does TV shows. And look, I'm biased, obviously, because I come from the latter. But I believe that British TV shows, the whole less is more, high calibre content, less episodes, less seasons, that's better for me.
It works for us,
than the just churning it out, fucking 20 episodes a season, 7, 8, 9 seasons. I personally prefer that style, and I think that's what makes it more memorable, more lasting. It's got a better legacy for me. I keep saying it, less is more, Stephen. I was speaking about it last night.
Yeah.
The whole music analogy. The Beatles gave us 7 years of album. Sort of the album years was 63 to 70, and they were fucking great years, man. I don't know off the top of my head how many albums I'd have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 albums. Am I right?
Probably.
Round about that mark. Once you come in, I'll actually count it in my head. I'm thinking with the Beatles.
Yeah.
Beatles for sale. Please me. A Hard Day's Night. Help. Rubber Soul. Revolver. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Magical Mystery Tour was kind of an EP though, wasn't it?
So it was Yellow Submarine.
Yellow Submarine. You've got White Album, Bang Bang 11. Fuck, it's one out.
Yeah. Well, we'll not count the Yellow Submarine. It was a soundtrack.
It was a soundtrack, and there was only about 4 good songs on it, and then it went into the soundtrack, which was good.
But I get what you're saying, yeah.
Less output, I should say, more quality. People remember them for it. The Stones, The Who, still touring just now. Fucking shite.
Yeah. Trigger's Broom. Yeah.
Shite. So less is more. And I guess that brings us on to the general conversation about The Simpsons, Stephen. It's a TV show that's been running since I was but a glint to my mum and father's eyes.
Yep. It's been there all your life.
It's been there my entire life. And Bart has always been about fucking 13, 14.
Yeah.
And Lisa's always been about 10 or 11. And Maggie's always been a toddler. And Santa's little helper, fuck knows how old.
Yeah, he's outlived every dog on the planet.
Yeah, he has, yep. Eternal.
Yeah.
And Mr. Burns is still this fucking octogenarian, withered, bent, frail old man.
Yeah, Apu's not there.
Smithers. Apu, yeah. Stephen, we'll get into it, I'm sure.
Well, we're talking about Disney.
Disney.
Simpsons as well now, John. I've watched a couple of the actual shorts.
Is it relevant now? That's what I was going to ask.
Well, that's the thing, and I think they're okay, but they're designed for kids.
Yeah.
They're focusing more on the sort of perspective of Maggie in one of the shorts. Focusing more on the perspective of Lisa in the shorts.
That's something we never really got. It was kind of all over the place, wasn't it?
Well, at first it was the Bart Simpson show to begin with, and then the audience, I think the writers, Matt Groening, etc., realised that there was potential with the father, Homer, and his sort of perspective on life, and it was sort of heavily focused on him. Not all the time, but predominantly it was a Homer Simpson show.
But we would get episodes, we would get almost like Monster of the Week fucking setups where you would get a story
Halloween
that wasn't,
stuff and all that.
and it would be a different character. It would be Maggie. Maybe it wouldn't be Maggie because she was never Lisa focused, or Bart focused, or Marge focused, or Krusty the Clown focused. It'd be a predicament for them, and then you'd have different sort of primary figures coming in and helping out or fucking kicking the boot in. Obviously, Sideshow Bob and Bart being the one that comes to mind right away. But Myrex Kamar, hello, welcome in. Thank you for coming in and sharing your thoughts, saying hi.
Yeah.
But staying in terms of its relevancy, is this a movie that can make money at the box office? I feel it isn't.
No.
And ultimately, that isn't going to be a sort of roadblock to this movie ever happening though, because obviously Disney restructured their entire company to focus on streaming.
Yep.
So I see no reason why this couldn't be a direct to Disney Plus effort released at Christmas.
Yeah.
And the people that want to watch it. The people that don't. It doesn't have to be hugely high budget. It doesn't have to make money.
No.
That could work.
I think it works for Christmas-based films like the Christmas Chronicles on Netflix, John, the Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn productions. So good they made a sequel. And they do hold up at that time of year, so I actually get what Yeardley Smith is saying here.
Yeah, the Christmas thing
it has got that theme, it might work. I mean, how many times do you go back and watch Home Alone? You know,
yeah, all the time.
How many times? Maybe
it has to be good though.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, you know, and I think it's probably its platform is on a streaming network. I can't see it being a Christmas release in the cinemas, to be honest with you, and really pulling people into the theatres.
Because there's almost always a big Christmas release out.
Well, this is it.
Something that's Christmas themed anyway. Steve, did I ever ask you live on this show? We'll get into that in a moment.
Yeah.
I'll ask you. You spoke about Christmas, I think, in the best Christmas movie ever. And the debate over movies. Are they Christmas movies? Are they not? I know we're in fucking April.
Yeah.
And we're speaking about Christmas. Blame Yeardley Smith for this, who played Lisa in The Simpsons and still does. Went to Die Hard. We'll get into it. I don't want to bring the tone down, but you spoke about a poo.
Yeah.
That's always going to be the big issue, Stephen. Will this TV show transition over to a modern era? All the stories they told, some of the character decisions, some of the characters period, their origins, and the way they are portrayed, will that be something that was acceptable in the 21st century to the Zoomers? Maybe the early or later millennials, the sort of younger fraternity of the millennials, who are a little bit more sensitive to these issues. For me, growing up, I loved the Pooh. I thought he was a great character.
It's a hard one to answer for someone that's not at that age group, because you know, I can't get my head around a lot of people that you know, a certain young audience that can watch a successful television series like Friends and pick holes in the character's sort of flaws in terms of Joey being an absolute creep, or you know,
Ross being a psychopath.
That kind of thing. You know, and
a bit clingy.
Yeah, and Chandler being so dysfunctional mentally,
and Phoebe being a sort of champagne fucking, not socialist, but champagne pacifist.
Yeah,
hippie.
Yeah, you know, and
he's probably the most aggressive person on the show.
I'm not going to try and understand it, you know, because it's not my generation. I'm pretty sure my generation had their sort of quirks and misunderstandings with things from maybe the 1970s. You know, when I was growing up, I would have been horrified with some of the language and tone about people's colour, religion, sex. You know, with some of the 70s stuff that was broadcast over here in the UK.
Roy Chubby Browns.
So I tend not to sort of dwell on it too much or anything like that, because it's a generation thing more than anything. I think you've got to cater for your audience, and
they are the younger generation now, so you have to change and evolve.
And I think people that grew up with The Simpsons have probably moved on a bit as well, you know, because there's been so many successful shows since The Simpsons animated shows. That was the one at the front though, you know, that was first introduced in the Tracy Ullman show back in the late 80s, you know, and just developed from there. But I think it's a show that has developed and continues to develop and evolve. I wouldn't like it not to evolve, and it has, and it will continue.
And also, there's been losses in terms of acting.
Yeah,
some great voices. Was it Troy McClure, that actor?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Away.
Yeah, 1993. Johnny was fantastic. He was in So I Married an Ex-Murderer. I'm going to look up his name actually.
Such an iconic voice, and we lost. So there has been changes anyway. But Stephen, in terms of development and evolving, it's something that's kept the show probably relevant over the years. And of course, I grew up with it, man. I fucking loved The Simpsons. I had the game. It was Bart Simpson skateboarding down a slope and stuff like that. I remember it for the Amiga. So this is a TV show that will always be close to my heart. I always loved it growing up. The last movie, I can't even recall it, Stephen, was it the one, I'm thinking about alien invasion with a big dome coming over the town.
That was
the movie.
Yeah,
it was alright.
I had it in DVD, John. I watched it once.
Yeah, it was alright. It wasn't great.
I didn't even bother going to cinema to see it.
No, you don't go to cinema.
I think by that point I was more a loyal fan, going I should see it because I'm a big Simpsons fan. I've watched it for that point. It would have been nearly 30 years at the time, or 20 odd years, I think.
Stephen, there's some fucking absolutely iconic moments.
Phil Hartman, John, was the chap's name, yeah.
But there's some iconic moments, Stephen. That sounds like a pig falling over. Oh, my secret shame.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. There's some absolutely iconic moments in this TV show that I grew up with every fucking day nearly.
John, that episode you're talking about,
Sit in front of the TV watching it.
is one of my favourite episodes. The one Lisa's First Words, I think it's called. And they kind of hark back to Bart growing up and stuff like that on the washing line. But there's a bit at the very end. It's one of the best written, beautiful moments you'll get in an animated show, where Homer is laying down Maggie at night time and saying that just you stay the way you are, I love you, you know, and it wouldn't bother me if you didn't have to speak ever, you know. And when he puts her down, he puts the light off and walks out, and she takes her dummy out and says daddy. It's fantastic. It's sometimes they have really good tender moments like that in a very funny show. And
then they have the funny moments where Homer is pondering over something that Lisa said. It's clearly went right over his head, and he comes out and says, takes one to know one. Yeah. What does that mean? Oh, better say something. Yeah, she says sometimes it's better to remain nothing and stay silent, indignant. Yeah. And maybe seem intelligent than... What does that mean? Then come out and say it and remove all doubt. What does that mean? He does that. Takes one to know one. Swoosh. It's just some fucking brilliant moments. I love The Simpsons, man. I grew up with it, and I hope it continues into multiple generations. It's something that lasts. It has a sort of eternal relevancy. But for this movie, I don't think it would succeed in terms of box office. It would be a straight to streaming service effort. She may be right. Christmas may be the best way to market a movie like that. Yeah. But it depends on the quality, doesn't it? It does, doesn't it? John, I'm very surprised how long we actually spoke about that for. I was actually worried. I was like, is there enough gas in the tank with this one? But there was, you know, because we're both Simpsons fans. So Stephen, wishing I could fucking go deeper, man. Yeah, I could go deeper. I could start talking about characters, man, and fucking... Yeah. There's just so many great fucking moments, man. I grew up with the video games, everything. Absolutely love it. Even the hit and run. I was watching a streamer on Twitch recently playing it. It was a blast from the past. That's right, 10 years old. Yeah, I remember that. I absolutely fucking loved everything about this. It was something that framed that. The likes of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Things like that, man. They were the TV shows that framed my childhood. So I pity some of the younger generation, the shit they're watching. Yeah. It's just not as good. It's not as funny. It's not as thought-provoking is what I grew up with. Sadly, but we're going to go back to the past, John. We're going to go back 20 years almost. Long time ago when we was fab. Which is surprising because it doesn't feel that long ago this film came out. It's all about Jack Black, and he is reflecting on School of Rock's legacy. Star Jack Black reflects on School of Rock's long-lasting legacy, crediting director Richard Linklater as the reason audiences continue to love it. Now, this is coming in from Screen Rant, and I'll go slow, John, while we're figuring out. It's actually only a couple of paragraphs anyway, but while speaking with Entertainment Tonight for the release of Linklater's latest film, Apollo 10.5, Jack Black reflect on School of Rock's legacy. The actor credits Linklater for the film's long-lasting success, believing the director's grounded approach to the humour is why audiences continue to love the film and why their newest collaboration works just as well. This is what Jack Black had to say, John. I thought a lot about School of Rock while we were making Apollo 10.5 because that's a Richard Linklater joint as well, and that's when we first met. He brought that same kind of realism and humour and genius to both projects, even though they're very different movies. There's that Richard Linklater DNA. This was really just an excuse for me to talk about School of Rock, John, because it's a film I go back to almost every couple of years. I'm just looking at that new movie that's coming out. It looks absolutely brilliant, by the way. My oldest daughter loves School of Rock. She really appreciates Jack Black's humour in it. Mm-hmm. I love the character Dewey Finn, who's also playing his sort of roommate in it, Ned Schneebly, the substitute teacher. Yep. John, you looked at the cast earlier on. It's a phenomenal cast. Yeah, it's surprising, Steve, when you look through it. It's hard to... It's easy to forget, I should say, just the actual talent. Not just the younger talent, but also like Jack Black in there. John Cusack was in there. Sarah Silverman, who's a established stand-up comedian. Yeah. Who's, you speak about relevancy, man, she's been around for obviously great friends. You sent a link to me today of Norm Macdonald, who's good friends with him, had a lot of toured with him and stuff like that. So it's got a brilliant cast, and man, some of the younger cast have really went on and they've managed to save themselves from the trials and tribulations of being a kid starring off the rails and maybe becoming a drug addict and fucking completely losing the plot, which is something we're seeing. I hope I've not lost OBS there. That was concerning for a moment. I'm clicking so many things. I'm losing the fucking plot here. Hello. Obviously, man, you've seen it. Macaulay Culkin. Fucking Daniel Radcliffe nearly fucking lost the plot. He was an alcoholic. There's just something about growing up as a young kid, experiencing that intrusion in your life, being catapulted to fandom and superstardom, and people poking fucking cameras in your face and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That seems to really warp the reality and change them. But Stephen, you look at the cast, man, and there's been a couple. We looked at one who got jailed, but later in years, most of them seem to have avoided it. One stepped away from acting. We spoke about it. There was some strange, perverted people trying to poke their nose into like a 14-year-old girl's private business.
Yeah.
She stepped away. She's now in her late 20s. Most of them, though, have had reasonable success after this movie. But Stephen, man, you talk about legacy. You've just hit the nail on the head there. When you've got someone of the age of 9 enjoying this movie 20 years after its release, that's the best legacy you can possibly gift the world in terms of a movie. Rewatchability, just universal love of the humour and the content within the actual movie. That's the best legacy you can have, man. If it's a one and done for a certain generation, or maybe a couple of generations, and then 20 years later it doesn't hit off, people don't like the humour, they don't like maybe the stuff being explored in the movie, it's done, man. This movie is generational. And it's Jack Black. It's just, for me, he is that fucking era. I think of that era, I think of Sum 41, I think of Blink 182, I think of American Pie, I think of Jack Black, Tenacious D,
period,
Foo Fighters. That's the era I grew up in. I was a sort of pre-teen, getting into teenage years. I've got nothing but warm memories of this movie in that era. And obviously, sadly, man, one of the guys passed away recently. Same age as me.
Kevin Clark. It was terrible, John, when I found out that news. I remember you telling me when you found out as well. Because I think there was always talk about doing a sequel at some point, and I think it never really got together.
That'd have been great, man. Them growing up and maybe their kids.
It's a good thought, John, but I kind of like the fact it's a standalone film, and they kind of resisted the temptation to take it that one step further and make a sequel, because it would have been interesting to see all the kids that little bit older, where did they go with their music? Did they stay? Did they go off the tracks? It would have been very interesting.
Would you have liked to have seen them recast then? Maybe the younger kids and have them in
no. There was
maybe their teenage years.
There was something about that group of kids, John, that just seemed to work. It was almost like you were stepping into a real life classroom. Where you got the sort of vibes of who was friends in the class, who kind of bounced off each other, who didn't really like each other, that kind of thing. But I felt that the film itself, John, I know that your man, I can't remember, I'm blanking on his name, we were just looking at him, they were comparing him to Ewan Bremner.
It's Mike White.
I think he was the writer, or it was one of the writers, wasn't he? Yeah, he wrote the screenplay.
Yeah, he wrote it.
I know he was involved in the writing process, John, and I know that he played the Ned Schneebly in the film. Bit of a whiny wimp of a guy who was getting bossed around with Sarah Silverman's Patty character, as I recall, and then he finally stood up to her at the very end. But it was a great film, John. I don't remember John Cusack being in there.
I think the flung him in as he's maybe been an unnamed cameo.
But John Cusack was fantastic as the head teacher, the principal. She was great in it. Very flaky, very hippie. She obviously had a kind of rock and roll past, but now she had to portray this sort of person who was upright, in the community, etc., because it was a very posh school, and she was the principal of the school.
Stephen, we've seen this kind of movie done maybe what we're saying 30 odd years ago now, and probably 15 years prior to this, 10 years prior to this was 2004. My mind goes to the likes of Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg. We've got the sort of unusual setting, musical, and it's stuffy, and then they break out and it changes people and they get that sense of unity. And you've got great music in there, and you've got big personalities in there. We've seen it done, and there's something about that subgenre of musical sort of comedy that just seems to fucking work.
There's a coming age element to it as well.
It stands the test of time for me. I don't know what it is. I can go back and watch Sister Act 2 now and I'd fucking love it. There's something about it, man. And it's the same with this, man. It's got that rewatchability. But Stephen, man, you think of Jack Black, and you mentioned it, man. It's got the Dave Grohl humour.
That's what I love,
I think back to the greatest song in the world, Tenacious D, when I was in school, maybe just starting secondary school, or maybe I've been fucking a bit into secondary school, to be fair. And I've got nothing about. I used to play it, man. It was an A minor.
Yeah. It's got high ratings,
It's
John,
kind of like a
as
working
well.
class hero.
The film, I'm just looking at it just now.
92%, man.
Yeah.
It has.
Yeah.
7.2, slightly lower by probably these strange cretins on IMDb. But
Jack
we don't take that
yeah,
serious.
Jack Black's got a lot. You've got to credit him for a lot of the sort of. He was the main guy in it, obviously, but some of the standout moments, and I think I kind of sense that, you know, the character and his choice with obviously the director was to ad lib a lot of things and bounce off the kids as well. The way he just rhymes off some of the Spazzy McGee or Posh Spice, you know, he just rhyming that kind of thing off, you know.
You spoke about The Simpsons and kind of transition. That's certainly a movie that if it was made now, I don't think some of those names would exist. Spazzy
Probably
McGee.
not, John. Probably not.
But listen, who gives a fuck? That's why, as I keep saying it, growing up in that era, it was fucking brilliant. I loved it. It wasn't as bad as the 70s where it was just rampant racism. There was hurtful comments.
Yeah.
It was more looser. People were becoming more liberal, thankfully, of that generation. My generation, thankfully, has always been fucking liberal. That's one thing you can't attack us millennials about. We've always been ahead of the curve when it comes to political correctness and liberal and stuff like that. It's called being human and being nice to other people, fuckers.
Yeah,
So get that up,
age, yeah.
Get it up, you baby boomers out there. Boomers. But Steve, I was going to say something there. And yeah, it's the energy that Jack Black brings to a movie when he's on it.
Yeah.
He's like a fucking Jack in the Box. He's all over the place. He's
Yeah.
obviously musically gifted as well, man.
John, his knowledge as well it shines in this film. Just, you know, the way he just rhymes off songs. And I think that was probably the biggest attraction for the film for him to sign up to play the character Dewey Finn, was his knowledge of music, his passion for music as well. All genres, not just rock, but he was going right into a lot of the sort of modern pop stuff, the sort of what was that called, the romantic stuff from the early 80s, the Spandau Ballet stuff and all that, you know, and all the genres, you know, and you could tell he's just a lover of music.
And Stephen, the irony being that also the actual teacher himself's probably not as, I don't know, in tune with music as he is. He's probably teaching the kids more. That's always something you take out of these kind of movies.
Yeah.
To be a teacher isn't just about being academically, having the prowess academically. You actually have to be a fucking well-rounded person who makes the process of learning inspirational to kids. I always maintain, growing up in the schools that I went to, there was people who shouldn't have been teachers. And if we had more guys like that actually teaching, bizarrely, even though it's a movie and he's an actor, he wasn't a real fucking teacher, it would have made the process more enriching. You would actually be skipping into school.
John,
I had guys like that, man.
There is a line at the very end you just reminded me of, when he was trying to justify himself when, you know, he was called out, you're not Ned Schneebly. He says, can I just say something here? I just want you to know that your kids have really touched me, and I just want you to know that I think I've touched them too. And they're all like, ooh.
See, Stephen, I can imagine there'll be people watching this movie, maybe of a certain generation, and they'll think the same things that come out against Adam Sandler and his 90s movies, where they'll attack it, they'll not really understand it. I don't know. And what you say is that 9-year-olds are watching it, man, and they're fucking loving it, so maybe that's wrong. But there's something about that era, the 90s going into the early 2000s, something about the comedy. I don't know if that can be replicated. I was speaking about it last night.
A lot of it gets over, you know, this generation's head. You get the character from the Ben Stiller character from Happy Gilmore.
I was talking about Jim Carrey as well,
yeah.
Stephen. Would that humour transition, the likes of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, fucking Dumb and Dumber? I mean, that's a Coen brother. That's Coen brothers, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
So that's maybe something that you take away.
Not Coen brothers, the
other,
Farley brothers,
the Farley brothers. Yeah. So I don't know if those movies would transition there, the likes of Liar, movies like that. Is that a generational thing? But I loved that fucking humour. Happy Gilmore, The Waterboy. I loved that shit.
Well, John, you can argue, you can say, you know, you liked the Leslie Nielsen stuff from the...
I did that, yeah.
The early 80s,
but that's him, though.
Yeah.
You're turning up for that fucking guy.
Yeah, you're turning up for Jim Carrey. So it might work, John. I think it really just depends. But I think a lot of it is lost. I think it's just all of its time.
And I never did ask you, Stephen. I did speak about Jim Carrey last night. I was going to throw you that question. The previous night, if we ran out of time, if we were ahead of the curve in terms of breaking down the Telepathy Beast trail, what is your thoughts on Jim Carrey potentially stepping away from acting? Is that something you think's right? Because he's more of a painter now. He's more of an existentialist sort of
he's
wise man now.
I think if he did it possibly after maybe Bruce might have upset me a wee bit more. But as much as I like Fun with Dick and Jane, Yes Man, which was another okay film.
He's done some bad movies, hasn't he?
Ever Diminishing Returns, Mr. Popper's Penguins, which is a shit show.
That came out at a bad time for him,
Yeah.
didn't it? So let that slide.
Dumb and Dumber 2. No, I think he was he was a very successful actor at a point of time. I don't think that he could really pull that off now. When they're talking about Ace Ventura 3, no, bugger off. Don't do it.
No,
Don't
that
do
was
it.
yeah,
Understood for a long time why he didn't do sequels, so don't start doing them now, Jim. I prefer to see him being happy in life now rather than just performing, for us. I'd rather he was just, I think he's went through enough. And I think as long as he's happy doing his painting, then I'm happy.
And his legacy's untouchable.
Well,
You're speaking about legacies, man.
Yeah.
That's a legacy that is
John,
untouchable.
we watched that Man in the Moon, not Man in the Moon, the Jack Nandy documentary a few years ago, and I think that affected him as well. I think he got inside the head too much of the character, and I think a lot of people were beginning to find him hard to work with. But I did like that clip you're talking about, Norm Macdonald, when he was talking about the Batman Forever stuff and meeting Tommy Lee Jones in a restaurant. He was actually shaking. It's so funny, But
even in the same movie that was Batman with that was the
Batman
Val
Forever,
Kilmer.
yeah,
Val Kilmer.
that was the one. Yeah,
I fucking loved that movie, man.
So did I.
I tell you right now.
But I could sense Tommy Lee Jones did not like Jim Carrey.
I mean, I slag off that performance from the Riddler because of its campiness and the sort of question mark suit and stuff like that, but I genuinely felt that was probably as a kid, the first Batman movie I was aware of.
I didn't mind it, John.
Also, I've seen the Burton movies after when I was a little bit older.
Yeah, it is what it is, I think he's not out of place in the film, let's be honest with you. It's flashing big lights, it's played for that kind of tone, and I think Jim Carrey was perfect for the role.
He was, but Stephen, that's going to round it up, man.
Yeah.
You're speaking about legacies. The legacies are untouchable, man. If it's good quality fucking shit, it will stand the test of time. We're getting an intro.
Yeah.
And I'm about to do an outro.
Welcome on in.
Welcome on. And restreams posted as well. 12103. That's not a pin number, by the way. Don't try that in a
pin or foe.
Pin or foe. Four pin. Mind that says that pin.
I do, John.
Pin and foe.
I'm still trying to track that video down.
And then it's like foe and pin. I actually swapped them about. Think that would make a difference.
If we could have found that video now, I'd be clapping it.
That video's gone.
Yeah, it's burnt. I think that computer's burnt.
That was like me. I was like George with the Christmas special. Try to fucking burn it. You're speaking about Christmas specials. There's an example of a Christmas special that didn't work. Fucking hell, man. Leia's singing. Looks like fucking Donald Trump.
It's in the trash can, isn't it?
Yeah.
With Fanny Can and
Fanny Can, yes.
What do you call it? What was the television series we were doing? Hawkeye. Episodes 7, 8, 9 and 10 or whatever it was. You never got to see them.
Yeah, there's 3 episodes of Hawkeye. They're still on the PC. They may get done at some point. I may get them out. Just fucking policing us.
Yeah, but you don't like your face in it.
Yeah, I may have to do some digital work.
Get George in then.
Need to be fucking Jeff Linner, visual arts, to fucking save that. Basically, I grew a beard out for the first time in about 6-7 months. Oh, yeah, about 6 months. Because I was getting a bit skinny, shall we say, and I thought, fuck it, get the beard out. But I'd forgotten what it was like with me, with beards, having to trim the beard line up. Because it's halfway up my face. I'm like fucking Hammett Alton top. I look like a tuck.
Gary Reeves.
Gary Reeves. And I kind of overdone it, trying to get the beard line right. And I looked like I had fucking something wrong with me. Hideous. Looked as though I had leprosy. I looked like Robert the Bruce's father in Braveheart. So I'm a little bit reticent, is that the right word? Reluctant to get back and put them out when I look like such a tit in them. Some would say I look like a tit now though. But that's their opinion. What is your thoughts on the... I was trying to do partridge here, Stephen. Did it come through? Did it come through?
I deliberately kept my hands down. That was just for you, John.
That's just that, yeah. I always try to do partridge, but I'm not quite Stephen Tries level. But it's like... It's the way you intonate your words. You've got to do it and come out from behind trees. What's your thoughts on the topics we have touched upon on the show tonight? What do you make about Tobey Maguire? doing Spider-Man 4 with Sam Raimi? Is it something you would want to see first and foremost? Is it something you think we will ultimately get to see at some point within the next 5 years? Because I think that's the time frame we're dealing in here to get it done. That's the length of the multiverse in this MCU before they probably reboot the entire fucking thing and start again. What's your thoughts on Simpsons, the movie too? Yeardley Smith, is it?
Yeah.
Who voices Lisa, says she thinks it will happen. That's a she, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thinks it will happen. You never know with the Simpsons. Fucking women are portraying Bart.
Yeah.
Watch to see a man can't portray Lisa if he's effeminate enough. Would you like to see a second Simpsons movie happen? Do you think it should be a Christmas movie? Do you think it would do well on a streaming service? Because I don't think it would do well in the box office. Finally, School of Rock, the legacy of that movie. Jack Black's been out speaking about it, why it still stands the test of time. What was your interactions with that movie? Have you seen it? Is it something you loved? Do you think it has a legacy that is eternal, will live forever? To quote Noel Gallagher, not Liam. Liam just sung it. Noel wrote it. That's why he's the best, really. I prefer Liam though. I do. But anyway, you can comment below if you've anything to say at all in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to get notifications straight to your eyeballs to see us in future videos like this. Both on Twitch and on YouTube, you can do the same thing over there. Hit the follow and the notification button over there. Regardless of what you do though, thank you very much once again for watching. And until next time, me and Stephen are done. But bye.